Hello, welcome to another episode of the Kreft's Couch Pod with your host, Dr. Janine Kreft. Today, I want to chat a little bit about rehearsing what you want. Not rehearsing what you don't want, because that is what we are very good at. And so it takes a lot of intentionality to create something else. And I want to share just a little bit about my experience and why I think this is literally all you need to create anything. Anything. Because if you're like me, it's like consume. And I need to learn all the strategies and all the things. And I am just done. I am done. Like I thought I was done a year or two ago before with this. And now I'm like, no, but this time for reals this time. So before I get into it, I want to let you know of a couple things that are happening right now. There's like a lot happening right now, actually. If you are wanting to work one-to-one together, I'm having my summer session sale. Some one-on-one sessions are 20% off until Monday, May 27th at 11:59 Central. So it's a great time to stock up because these sessions are good for 6 months and you can schedule them how you want, 30 minutes, an hour, 90 minutes, whatever. And this doesn't happen very often. So if you know, you know. 2, my Liberated from Imposter Syndrome full program is going live. It's had a couple of iterations, growth changes, as you know. Sometimes I pivot from thing to thing depending on what the energy is calling. And this one was calling for it. And so the full program is actually 10 lessons, 10 audio lessons, and I'm adding a live element because I had a lot of feedback that folks really loved the reprogramming, rewiring part in the intro, the free intro that is available to you. I'll put it in the show notes so you can get a little taster. But that was people's favorite thing. So I was like, well, hey, let's do it in the full program too. So we have 4 live calls of doing that, which is rehearsing who you desire to be, which is not the imposter syndrome you. So that starts the 29th. So if you want to get in, hop to it. And then the last thing is, oh my God, there's so much going on, is office hours. Office hours doors are open. This is my weekly call, my virtual office in the sky where you get to ask me anything. You get to submit your questions ahead of time or even during the call, and I will answer and offer facilitation to the energy of what I'm picking up. So those doors will close June 5th, so there's a little more time with that. But yes, I will put all the links down below. So let's get into this. So I've been hearing about the term specifically mental rehearsal for a little bit now, and it wasn't really landing for whatever reason. And then recently it did. And I was like, oh no, I know what this is, but I'm having a different awareness to it. And so what I was starting to get is that we are constantly rehearsing what we don't want. Now, think about like what is a rehearsal? If you ever danced before or performed, even in sports, you rehearse or you practice. You practice, rehearse, your yoga practice, right? You practice something over and over and over and over again, right? In order to create mastery. That's it. And it's so funny because we are constantly looking for all these like shiny new things, or we want to hear the wheel reinvented somehow, or we got to hear something new or whatever, when we haven't even mastered the basics or the foundations. Truly, it's like we're bored with them. Like, give us something new. I need my next dopamine hit, But really, it is the foundations, and it is the boring, monotonous, whatever foundational things that we do need to master. It's just like, it's so simple that we don't see it. It's right in front of our face and we don't see it. That's how simple it is. So what are we doing constantly but rehearsing, practicing, focusing on what we do not want? And then we call it worry. We call it worry. We call it anxiety. We call it depression. Look, and I know it's a little more complicated than that, but what I am saying is that we are focused on what is and rehearsing all these terrible outcomes. Now, I could go into a lot of reasons why that is, why this is happening, why it's a protection mechanism, and all these things. And to me, it's kind of like it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant because I don't care about the why. I just want to change it. You know what I mean? I like to be efficient, and I'm like, just tell me, just what do I do to change this? Because it's really annoying. So it's like, just think about your day. Think about your day and think about all the things that you are anticipating, right? You're anticipating. Let's say you get in your car, you're headed off to coffee or your hot yoga class or whatnot. And what are you worried about happening? Maybe a new bill came in the mail you weren't expecting. The car needs work and you're like, oh God, where's that extra money come from? And then you start rehearsing being short on money. Then you start rehearsing not enough coming through. Then it like gets worse and you start to spiral until you're like, wait, stop, no. And you're like, and you just try to recite your little affirmation. It'll be fine. I'm abundant. I'm wealthy. I'm abundant. I'm wealthy. And then you're like, I don't feel much better, Janine. And I'm like, I know, because you've already rehearsed so much momentum in the opposite direction that a cute little affirmation doesn't quite cut it, right? And so then think about, let's say you go to your hot yoga class and you're distracted for a bit. You're focused on that. So you're not really thinking too much because, you know, it's hard and you're sweating. And then you leave and then you start thinking about, well, what else do I need to do? And it's like, oh, well, I still really don't love my job. And why haven't I left yet? And, you know, it's like, oh, I need to, you know, create this other thing. Maybe I want to start posting on social media, but what are people going to think of me? And blah, blah. And it's like rehearsing everything you don't want. Now, I get it, right? Because we've been taught dynamically and programmed deeply to regurgitate exactly what is in front of us, right? Exactly what is in front of us, what is happening, and to prepare for worst case scenarios. And then, better yet, when we try to rehearse what we do want, then people are calling it toxic positivity. You need to acknowledge your feelings and feel your feelings and yada yada. And it's like we are bombarded with so much information of trying to almost keep us stuck or small, I want to say. There's so much almost like fight for the pain. Fight for how much of a struggle it is here on earth, and just we need to look at the pain. Now, if you've listened to any previous episodes or follow my content, you know I'm not one to go into like stick your head in the sand and just ignore or don't be aware of what is happening. Certainly have awareness, right? We can't just go la la la, put my hands in my ears and not pay attention. And I have to be intentional about where I'm putting my attention because it is creating my reality. And if where I'm putting my attention is not helping me to feel better, to create more, then for what purpose do I choose it? How useful am I if I'm just worrying? I am of no use to other people. So the other piece of this that I was personally looking at was within business. Because I've been looking at, you know, there's all these strategies. I promise this is connected. There are all these strategies about the right way to do things, like build an email list, post 3 times a day, or, you know, make sure you're doing it this way, create a funnel and do this and sell a course and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like on and on. Everyone has the right strategy. And if you just do the right strategy, it will work. Well, let me tell you, I have done a lot of these strategies because I'm determined. I'm like, I'm going to create something that hasn't been created before. And so what do? Just regurgitate strategies. And funny enough, that is not what creates. Because again, if we are already rehearsing what we don't want, it doesn't matter the tool, the strategy, it doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. It will not create what you want. It will not. So what I'm getting at here is really the importance of rehearse, rehearse, rehearse what you do want. Now, it's gonna feel weird. It's gonna feel weird because you're used to let me, like even right now, let me listen, let me consume new information so I can learn and hopefully choose something else. But then not necessarily change how I'm doing things. You know what I mean? And so it's like, and I feel it because I'm with you. I do this. I've desired to learn from so many different people that I've almost at times lost my own inner voice or inner understanding. And so there is something about that I'm getting at and having more awareness of. We're coming to the place where no longer are we really wanting to function in this way. Whether it be in business, whether it be whatever you're wanting to create or manifest in your life, it's like, there's got to be an easier way. There's got to be an easier way. I shouldn't have to do my 9-step morning routine or make sure I'm doing an affirmation to every one of my 60,000 thoughts a day that are not in alignment with where I want to go, right? It's like we've overcomplicated it so much. So much. And so what's really landing for me currently is this idea and the simplicity of mental rehearsal. Now, I would say a couple months ago, the idea of foundations and basics really landed for me in a different way. Now, what I mean is when I say landed, it's like I've had more embodied experiences or in life real-time experiences. Like I understood these concepts before at a mental level, but then it's very different to get it at an embodied level. And so I oftentimes seek to not speak about things unless I'm really having embodied awareness about it, so that I can communicate it in a more effective way for it to land and for people to really get it, rather than being like, I don't get this. Because these concepts are really big. So I got that foundations are really important. We know this, right? It's like why I created my frequency bootcamp, which is now a part of my frequency intensive, which is just basically how do we attune our frequency, but to the basics of physical, mental, emotional, right? Physical, sleep, nutrition. What are we doing day to day to facilitate our bodies feeling really good? So I got that. And then it was like, okay, so I get the basics are very, very important. And then this other piece is the mental rehearsal. And if you didn't do anything else, even your nervous system regulation, oh my God, even if you didn't do anything else and you just rehearsed, like you made it your mission, your life depended on it. I mean, no matter what, you were spending the bulk of your day, your 9-to-5 job was you rehearsing what you desire. Oh my God. Would your life change? It would change. It would change so fast. And it's like, if you've ever noticed the manifestations or things that pop or come to fruition tend to be when you've let it go, right? It's like the thing you're obsessing about hasn't come through. You might hear Bucky walking around. The things you're obsessing about don't come through, right? Because it's like you're putting too much contraction on it. And oftentimes when we're thinking about it, we're not thinking mindfully about it. We are thinking in a way that is contradictory to what we want. We're focused on the lack of it, right? Because even though we're being mindful and it's like, oh, I want to manifest this thing that I don't have, it's like lack, because the universe doesn't know the difference. The universe doesn't know the difference. It's like, what energy, what frequency are you emitting? And so what you're emitting is really based on all these things of frequency: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. But what are you focused on? Truly, what are you focused on? And what are you rehearsing? What are you rehearsing? What are you practicing over and over again? And so if you're practicing worry, worry about, oh, this bill came and I don't know, how am I going to pay it? And, whatever. And it's like, well, then I got to dig into my savings and all of that, or I got to dig into my credit. Like, oh my God. And you're focused on that versus the bill's paid. It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done. What if you rehearsed seeing $0? It's paid in full. Paid in full, paid in full, paid in full. It's paid in full. This is paid in full. That's paid in full. Oh, it feels so good. And then how does it feel? How does it feel? How does it feel? Paid in full. How does it feel? How relaxed are you? Right? This is the only reason we want anything, folks, is because we want the feeling. We want the feeling. And so if I could practice the feeling now, rehearse the feeling now, then I could be it now. That's the whole point when people are talking about be, do, have, right? We function from the have, do, be, which is like, well, when I have the thing, then I'll be happy. And it works the opposite, right? I have to be happy now in order to create the thing, because then I'm inspired to take the aligned action, which simply means the kind of synchronistic action that would get me to said thing, right? Because it's like, I don't know the how. There could be a million ways how, but I need to choose to be it now. And I can be it now when I rehearse already having it. It's already done. So this is what we are going to be doing in Liberated from Imposter Syndrome, because I just know it. I have so many entrepreneur folks in my world, or folks that are desiring to be entrepreneurs and are just stopped from taking action by feeling like an imposter to some degree. Or maybe you're just reaching for some sort of goal and you don't feel like deserving of it or good enough for it. You feel like an imposter somehow. And so that's why I was like, this really needs an applicable moment, because the things I've been creating recently, and I would say within the past year, have been, yes, information in order to rewire thought process, and also live guided rewiring, live application, live tools to use, and now rehearsal. So the live portion of Liberated from Imposter Syndrome, as we did in the intro, we rehearse confidence, where we're gonna rehearse other areas of interest that would support you taking action with ease. Because that's it, right? It's like the imposter syndrome simply stops you from choosing, stops you from moving forward, so that you end up kind of stuck in this Groundhog Day cycle, like nothing's ever changing. And, there's a lot of things here with that. And I've taught nervous system work for a really long time. And I have come to realize that there's something also activating the nervous system. Because forever, long time ago, I was like, nervous system is the root. And I'm like, you know what? Energy's the root. There's something below that. And certainly nervous system is a part of it. And it's makes sense to use nervous system tools when we are in different states. However, if we want to shift our overall baseline frequency, then we need to look at the energy that we're holding and we're emitting. And what is a contribution to that? But rehearsing in my mind what I desire like a cuckoo person. You know what I mean? Because it's like, in order to create it, you have to see it in your mind first. So it's like, okay, cool. You got that bill in the mail, or you got unexpected car work you need done. Oh my gosh, it's $5,000. Where's this $5,000 going to come from? That's what you're rehearsing. You're rehearsing worry. Instead, could you rehearse, paid in full. Car is fixed, paid in full, paid in full. Oh, it's paid in full, paid in full. What else is paid in full? Oh, you know what? My credit cards are paid in full. Oh, you know what else is paid in full? That other loan. Oh, you know what else is paid in full? This other thing, this vacation I want to go on, paid in full, paid in full, paid in full. It's done. 0, 0, 0. It's done. How light do you feel? How expansive, how relaxed nervous system? How relaxed do you feel? So do you see, by simply attuning your focus to what you desire, you can create a whole new reality? Now the practice is to rehearse it. Rehearse it, right? It's not just like, oh, one time and I'm done, because think about all the other hours that maybe you're not paying attention and then you're going into lack and worry again, right? We need to rehearse this a little more than half of the time to get it going in the other direction. So if you are feeling called, I'm literally obsessed with the Liberated from Imposter Syndrome. I haven't talked about it too much, but what came out of it in those lessons was really cool, because I was originally going to do 5 live calls and then something wasn't clicking. And so I shifted that to then 10 audio lessons. So they're, half the time of a full call would be, but I just basically got in the state of what I wanted to relay and just allowed other things to come through. And wow, for me, that is my most potent work, truly, is when I set my intention, I have a direction, and then I allow what needs to come through. And so I'm really excited to have created it in this way, and then now to have the live element so that you can implement, we can rehearse together, and you'll have those recordings as well as a chance to ask any questions. I mean, this is potent stuff. This is potent stuff, my friend. And it's a lot of information. So if you are feeling called, again, we start that one on the 29th. And I'm just so excited to see where it will go. So if you're feeling pinged, I wonder what you're aware of that it will create for you. All right, until next time.